What's up, MHA owners? It's Tuesday, August 19th, less than 2 weeks away from draft day. The NFL news is heating up, the injuries are piling up, and there's so much information coming out about who to draft, who not to draft, sleepers, busts, breakouts, and more. It can be exhausting, but it's also kind of fun. Eric Lansing, Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond, good evening, fellas. As we get closer and closer, I wanted to ask you guys an opinion on something. And it's funny because we were just kind of talking off air about some stuff, about how logic and reason are a big part of what we do when we're like putting together rankings. But how much of your decision making and drafting kind of comes as a feeling? Maybe it has nothing to do with what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, but there's just some feeling that comes over you when you actually start pushing that draft button. Todd had a draft. Maybe he can kind of talk about feeling, or maybe you have a feeling of that guy next up on your ranking, but you just can't pull the trigger. You go to the next guy, and I don't know how much of feeling goes into how you draft. I'll start with Mikey. Todd can talk about his team here in a second, but how does feeling play into your whole, I don't know, rankings and drafting and all that fun stuff?
I always go with trusting my gut first.
So, I mean, that's more like gut feeling, right? That's not logic or reason or ranking or numbers or anything. So go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's just like your numbers tell you one thing, but there's just, like you said, sometimes you just have feelings and you're just like, I don't like this guy for whatever reason it is. And you just like, you got to trust your gut and go with what you believe sometimes. Numbers be damned.
Numbers be damned, because yeah, we were trying to figure out. We were just talking about, well, in terms of rankings of Puka and Devontae Adams, and they're ranked somewhere in the top 15 between the two of them, and then but Matt Stafford not ranked really high. So how does that make sense in some regards? But it must be a feeling. Well, Todd, I know you're a feeling guy because it's all about who you love, who you hate, who's burned you, who's helped you win a championship. So it's all about feeling with you, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, fantasy football and just for anything in this world, but like nothing is exact numbers. Nothing, you can do all the research and you can find all the numbers, and and Mikey likes to put all the numbers on his spreadsheets and everything like that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's more about the gut feeling, and and learning from the past, from past seasons. Like, well, yes, like, yeah, this player burned me, so yeah, I'm saying nope, I'm not even gonna go even near him. I'm done with it. He burned me. Or maybe you're like, all right, well, if I draft him, you know later in the draft compared to how high I drafted him before, then that kind of goes into it. But yeah, I mean, you can look at numbers again, and we all look at the numbers. I mean, I obviously look at them too as well, but sometimes you kind of have to push the numbers aside a little bit and just goes with those gut feelings, and hope it works out. That's all you can really do. I mean, fantasy football is not perfect.
So what are we doing on this show? We're going to talk about our wide receivers part 2 episode. We kind of stopped around the 40 area, and we're kind of being between 40 and like 55. So we'll kind of talk about some of these guys, and we'll talk about our tight ends as well. Seems like a deep position, but we'll let you decide as we go through this. But before we get to all of that, we got to get to the news, and there's a lot of it.
I don't understand what the news is. It's just like, hey, here's a bunch of you can't fix that happened that was horrible.
Breaking news today, the Colts name their starting quarterback for week 1, and surprise, surprise, it's Daniel Jones. Mikey, when you heard that, is that a good thing for us fantasy owners, a bad thing? I can tell you, a guy I work with, he's a big Colts fan, not excited at all about that decision. But for fantasy-wise, how does that sit with you?
I don't think it was good news either way. So I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of shifting going on with my rankings with the receivers at least, because I mean Daniel Jones is probably a better quarterback in terms of getting these guys catches than like an Anthony
Exactly.
Richardson,
Yeah.
but they're both extremely terrible. And
Can we say officially that Richardson is a bust though?
I
I mean,
wouldn't say that. I mean, there's a lot of organizational issues that
True. Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean
think they're
that's
doing things
so,
the right way, but I wouldn't call him a bust yet.
okay.
I mean, Daniel Jones has been known to get hurt. That's what I was telling my buddy today. It's like, don't worry, you'll see, your boy AR in there at some point, and maybe he uses that as motivation, right? We talked about Bryce Young. Was he a bust? And then he got a second chance and then took off and ran with it. So Daniel Jones in the starting lineup. Speaking of quarterbacks looking, or teams looking for their starting quarterback, Saints not going to name a starter until the final preseason game is over. So the battle between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Show, I don't think I'm excited about either of these guys. Hopefully,
It's
I'm not
not.
drafting any Saints this year. So I don't know. That's yuck. That's what I got to say about that. How about another quarterback named a week one starter, Joe Flacco, the main guy in Cleveland? Todd is a David Njoku enthusiast. Are you excited about this?
I mean, I'd rather. No, I'd rather them. I'd rather had Shador, but because I think it's. I mean, how much does Flacco have left in the tank? But if Flacco can get the ball to Njoku, then hey, I'll. You won't hear a peep out of me. But I don't know. I some degree, I don't know if that was the right choice per se, but I don't know.
Is it the right
Miguel,
choice, Miguel?
it's the safe choice.
Yeah, I agree with you
I
on that.
mean, I'm assuming at some point, eventually, all four of their quarterbacks on their roster are going to get to play. I mean, there was no way they were going to name Shador Sanders the starting quarterback when he's fourth on their, depth chart with two veterans in front of him plus a rookie they drafted 2 rounds before him. That wasn't going to happen, but he'll get a shot eventually.
Cleveland. All right. More quarterback news. Rams this time. Matt Stafford has practiced 2 days in a row. Been dealing with some back issues. So for those who do like Puka and Devontae Adams, he's back in the mix because if they don't have him, that's a big drop for those gentlemen. Quinshaw Judkins won't face criminal charges, but still could be suspended by the NFL. And even worse, he hasn't even been signed by the Browns yet. So that whole scenario is not good for those interested in Judkins. May want to stay away from the Browns altogether this year. Malik Neighbors, someone who appreciated, I guess, Daniel Jones a little bit. Toe injury. Was returning in practice today, I believe. It doesn't sound like anything serious, just something I noticed today because he's obviously a top, I don't know, you can call him 7 pick, 6 pick, whatever you want to rank him, but up there. Travis Hunter dealing with a, quote, upper body injury. Hasn't been practicing, hasn't been playing in those preseason games. They're all saying it's precautionary, so there's that. More quarterback news. Jordan Love back at practice after having thumb surgery. I mentioned on the show that there was a chance he could miss the rest of the preseason, but it seems like he's going back into it fairly quickly, so that's good news. Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. reportedly being shopped. I'm not sure if it's something with the organization that just prefer to go with. We were, of course, I was hanging out with Mikey. We were watching some of that Commanders game, and Krosky, I believe is his name, is out there doing pretty well. So Robinson Jr., who scored I think 8 touchdowns last year, could be moved. So keep an eye on all that stuff. Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir having no setbacks, recovering from a high ankle sprain, which is good. Usually those can linger and last weeks to months. Working his way back. So keep an eye on that. Tyreek Hill dealing with an oblique issue. Was seen out making catches with the Jugs machine. And the last thing I have, another wide receiver, Chris Godwin, still not practicing. Of course, he had that dislocated ankle 1 year ago. Has dealt with 2 ankle surgeries the last 2 years. He may start the season on the PUP. Keep an eye on that. Chris Godwin, who was the number 2 wide receiver through 7 weeks before getting hurt. still hurt at this moment in time. Anything I missed, gentlemen? Anything you want to say about any of that? That's a lot of news. You guys ready to just talk about wide receivers?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I kind of went through who would you prefer type of scenario. We'll start with that in the first couple of questions. Let's talk about some Bills wide receivers. And I don't know, this might be one-sided, but I had to ask because I think we've seen a lot of Khalil Shakir so far, and they drafted Keon Coleman number 2, or in the early second round. So I was asking, who would you prefer, Khalil Shakir or Keon Coleman? I'll start with Todd. Both of these guys have seen some success, Shakir more than Coleman. But when you're out there looking around, are you looking to draft Shakir over Coleman, or are you looking at maybe if Coleman's ranked lower, do you prefer to draft him as more of a value than having to waste, I hate to say waste, but using a higher pick on Shakir?
I would rather draft Shakir over Coleman. Yeah, I don't know. He didn't have the best rookie season.
Coleman? Is that you're talking about?
Okay. Yeah. Coleman didn't have the best rookie season. Trying to find his way, and just, but Shakir at least shown something. Now, granted, I don't have either one of them ranked in my top 60.
Wow, really? Top 60?
I don't know. I do not. I don't think I put.
So you're not really high on either of them.
No, because I think it's gonna. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I have to really wait and see again because, especially Coleman. I was when he was coming out of the draft. I think at the time, if you remember, I was a little high on him. I was like, okay, this will be a speedy wide receiver for Josh Allen, but yeah, kind of didn't have the best rookie season you wanted. Granted, he was a second round pick, so maybe not the highest expectations, but wasn't a big fan. So
second round picks, no expectations for a second round pick, dude. That seems a little wrong, right?
Well, compared to first round, there are obviously high expectation. There is high expectations, but I don't know. Coleman just didn't really. It was hard. He was having a hard time trying to find his footing. And I know rookie wide receivers. That's always the toughest position to kind of, to figure out because because everybody's a lot faster. You're not in college where you might be the fastest player on the field. So, but I think if anything, Shakir I would pick him over Coleman.
Same question to you, Miguel. Fantasy Pros has Shakir ranked 39th, Keon Coleman ranked 52nd. So would you prefer to take Shakir in that kind of 39 range around guys like Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin? Or would you prefer to see what Coleman could bring amongst the guys of Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Kirk? Some of your thoughts.
I'd take Coleman. I have Coleman ranked ahead of Shakir in my rankings.
Oh, wow. Look at that. So good question by me. I'd love to hear it. So why Coleman over Shakir?
With Shakir, I just feel like you kind of know exactly what you're getting. He's basically their slot guy. He's safe. And, I feel like he's a guy that's going to get you 7 to 8 points, but he's not a guy that they would really look too much in the red zone. So he offers very limited upside. And from what I've been reading, Keon Coleman, they're expecting a jump. He's been really good in training camp. He's been flashing. I think there's upside that he hasn't shown yet. And I would rather draft him in later round than a Shakir just to see what that upside might be.
I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I had Shakir ranked 40th. I'm sorry. I should have brought my other rankings up. That's my bad. My bad.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you said that. It's 60. I mean, you can find there are 60 better receivers than these guys. For someone like Todd, who's always like, oh, he's connected to one of the best arms in the league, but
yeah, I had him ranked 40th.
Okay,
I had him 40th. So there we go.
So yeah, so Todd on the Shakir train, Coleman on the Mikey train, and I said Coleman. I still had Shakir ranked higher, but I would prefer to draft Coleman later. I agree with Mikey. I think we've seen the upside of Shakir. I'd rather take the flyer and see what Coleman can bring, because they could use a really good wide receiver to add to that mix. We'll keep going here. Which Colts wide receiver do you prefer, Michael Pittman or Josh Downs? Last year, Josh Downs was ranked. Excuse me, this year, Josh Downs is ranked 45th by Fantasy Pros. Pittman 47th, so fairly close. We've seen some really good years from Pittman. Obviously, a new quarterback situation, but it seems like Downs has kind of taken over, at least from last year, in terms of leading the team in targets per game, receptions, expected touchdowns. I'll start with Mikey. Which one of those guys, straight up, would you prefer to have?
Well, and now you have the added Daniel Jones effect added in. So
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's interesting because we talked about that. Is he more stable of a quarterback than Anthony Richardson? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like the team thinks so. So how does that change anything for you?
I don't know. I mean, Pittman's a year removed from a season where he had over 100 catches.
Yeah,
So there's,
109.
yeah, I mean, so that there's got to be some of that there. He's never been a big touchdown guy, but
Yeah.
golly, man, I really don't want any part of this Colts offense. So if I have to choose one, I'm going to choose Pittman.
Yeah, Pittman 2 years ago, 109 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was kind of in like top 22 wide receiver range the last 3 years, but Downs is a little bit younger, has some explosiveness to his game. What do you think, Todd? Who are you drafting first, straight up between those two?
Pittman.
Okay,
for
wow.
sure. Again, Josh Downs to me is, I guess no pun intended, but is up and down, per se. So sometimes he can have a, really great game, but other times, I mean, just a stinker. So I'd rather go with Pittman, who's a little bit more consistent in that regard.
Last year, Downs, 14 games played, 72 receptions, 803 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Daniel Jones in the mix now. See how everything plays out. The consensus, I was surprised to hear you guys say, hey, but the consensus is everybody seems to be on the Downs train. But I like what we've seen from Pittman in the past. I don't think he's still relatively young, so I'm not ready to just kind of throw him out. I was talking to my Colts buddy, and he's like, oh, you don't have to worry about Michael Pittman in fantasy. I don't know if I agree with that with Daniel Jones in the mix. Maybe that's just me, though. Let's go to some 49ers wide receivers. 3 of them. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, or Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, we know Ayuk on the PUP list will miss the first 6 weeks of the season. But how are you guys ranking those 3? We'll start with Todd, or if you just want to give me your favorite. If you want to rank them, great. But if you just want to give me your favorite or who you think you'd be drafting first, or is it a value pick? Seems like Pearsall is the highest ranked guy. But how are you looking at the landscape of the San Francisco wide receivers?
Juwan Jennings is the number one for me. I had him ranked 35th, followed by Pearsall and Ayuk. Yeah, there's not a low number on this planet that I would want to put I would love to put Brandon Ayuk there. Him with his $120 million too. So
that's the Todd being burned statement. Is that what that is?
Pretty much. There's your
not a good quote unquote feeling for Todd.
Yeah, no, that's the I don't care. Feeling, numbers, I don't care. Shapes, diameters, I don't care. Brandon Ayuk is sorry, you paid him all that money. So Juwan Jennings showed, if anything, because I know earlier in the offseason he wanted to get paid and everything, and to some degree pay him. He was elite, he was doing something. So Juwan Jennings for me, Pearsall second, and then Brandon Ayuk.
Last season, Jennings kind of outplayed both Ayuk and Debo. Jennings 5 receptions per game, 65 yards per game, and 6 touchdowns. Ayuk had some good I don't know what you want to call this, but behind the scenes numbers. Despite being injured, During his time when he was on the field amongst the 112 qualifying wide receivers, he led the NFL in separation and route win rate. So when he's out there, he's fantastic. And now, yes, obviously, you missed 6 games of the season. We're going to put him down in the ranking. But if he comes back, don't we want him over those other two? How are you looking at this whole thing, Miguel?
So I'm actually going to go against my original rankings. And even last week I talked about being really high on Jawan Jennings, but my mind has since been changed given some new information.
Now, is that new information stuff Todd just said? So you're going to go against whatever Todd's saying?
No, it's
Oh, okay,
not.
okay. I had to ask.
It actually had to do with I listened to Kyle Shanahan's press conference today.
Okay, love
that
it.
he had after practice, and they were talking about Jawan Jennings and his calf injury and how he hasn't been practicing, and it almost seemed like there's a purposeful slow recovery to this calf injury, and it may have something to do with him wanting a new contract.
I see.
And Kyle Shanahan didn't sound too happy about this.
Reading between the
And
lines.
I don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. And meanwhile, Pearsall's been there every day. You saw over the weekend there was a good rapport between him and Brock Purdy. Like, Jennings may have been the number one going into this camp, but I think, he may be getting Wally pipped, and
wow. Baseball.
Pearsall may be the new favorite target for Brock Purdy.
Ayuk finished 16th in 2023, 75 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Pearsall last season obviously dealt with some off the field stuff, missed 7 games last year. Really didn't break out until like the last 2 weeks of the season. So I don't know. I'm interested. If I had to make a guess, I think I would go with Pearsall. There's a lot of good talk in terms of how he plays on the field, the routes he's run. But I feel like what's going to happen for me is I'm going to avoid Jennings and Pearsall. And if Ayuk's there in the 50s, I may take a chance on Ayuk and just kind of sit on him for a while. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this whole offense in general, at least in terms of these guys. But that's where we are in the rankings right now, is in the 40s, and trying to figure out who's going to jump, who's going to stand out. So no one's going to be perfect at this point, but interesting to talk about it. We're going to keep going here. Packers wide receivers. Obviously, they have a lot, but we're only going to talk about 2 of them. Jaden Reed or Matthew Golden. Reed, by Fantasy Pros, is ranked 48th. Golden right behind him at 49th. So, Mikey, we'll start with you this time. Reed, dealing with a foot injury. I saw something today that Coach LaFleur said he's hopeful, in quotes, that he will be ready for week 1. And I'll just throw this out there, if he's healthy week 1 and you had Reed on your team last year, and maybe we talked about this before during the rookies, but we'll bring it up again. Who are you drafting first, Reed or the rookie Matthew Golden?
I believe I had them pretty close together. I think maybe I Golden 1 spot ahead of Reed. Okay. Hopefully, Reed will be ready for that first game. We'll see. Reed is a frustrating player to have.
I heard you talk about it all last year.
Well, because he doesn't, even when guys are out, like, he plays one position. He's the slot guy, and for a team that runs a lot, that means he's not really ever going to be on the field full time. And so he's so much of a boom bust guy. And when he goes off, he goes off. But when he doesn't, you're stuck and frustrated with 3 or 4 points. And so, with Golden, with the first round pick, I'm hoping that there's more upside, that he'll be on the field more often and be a little bit more consistent.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you had ranked higher?
I think I had Golden ranked a spot higher.
But pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, it was real close. Actually, no, I had Reed up by a spot, but
okay. Obviously, that can change.
Yeah.
Golden's making a lot of noise and making great plays in training camp. Saw some of his plays here today. Reed has 17 touchdowns the last 2 years. Reed also brings some rushing ability. 3 rushing touchdowns, 282 rushing yards the last 2 years. Todd, who's your favorite amongst these two?
Oh, Golden for sure. I think I'm going with the. Obviously, I know Reed's more proven, but also injury prone as well too. But Golden for me, it's no brainer. I want to go with the bigger upside, um, in everything, and that especially in that offense. I think he really does emerge as the number one wide receiver in that offense.
Yeah, can we please get Jordan Love a number 1 wide receiver? We've seen how good this man can be. Can he get a guy that's healthy, that can stay on the field, that can
Yep.
make some plays and make Jordan Love one of the best quarterbacks in the league? Can we make that happen? And I'm not, Jaden Reed's not going to do it.
I don't know why Todd's saying Jaden Reed's injury prone. I never saw that, but
Maybe because he's hurt right now, but yeah.
Well, and inconsistent too, but yeah,
That's a better word to use than injury prone.
Well, and two, and I think too. I mean, you were referring to getting Jordan Love a number 1 receiver. Talking about Watson, right? Christian Watson. I mean, that I thought
he's
he was
injury prone.
Yeah, he's
that's an injury prone dude for sure.
That injury prone. You look up the word injury prone in the dictionary. His face would be in that one.
That's
so I think again, I would rather. I mean, first of all, Packers and number 1 wide receivers, they just it's almost like they're allergic to those to doing that. They haven't drafted this is like the first time in a while. Trivia, who was their number 1 wide receiver that they draft? Who was their only first round wide receiver they drafted ever or since to this point?
In the history of the Packers,
yeah. When was the last When was the last number 1 when was the last time the Packers, before Matthew Golden, when was the last time the Packers drafted a number 1 wide receiver in the first round?
We talking Hall of Famer Sterling Sharp?
I don't think he was a first round pick.
Okay.
No, it's I'll give you a clue. He was a Bronco too.
He was a Bronco?
Yeah.
Former Packers wide receiver. Todd dishing out the...
I know.
Difficult. It was Javon Walker.
Oh, okay. All right.
There you go. 2002. There you go.
Now, there you go. Javon Walker had some good seasons, right?
Yeah. He was I mean, he had some really good seasons with us.
And by the way, Todd, Sterling Sharp was a 7th overall pick.
Okay, see. There you go.
Put some respect on his name.
Hall of Famer, son. Hall of Famer.
7. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
You questioning Mikey over here?
No, I'm not. Hey, I gotta go back in that NFL draft book and go do some more homework. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry.
We're about halfway through the show. Do we want to go to tight ends, or do we want to talk about Marvin Mims, Rashad Bateman, and Jordan Addison?
We could talk about those guys. That's fine.
Okay, I'll let you I called them touchdown makers. These guys scored a lot of touchdowns last year. Mikey, pick someone you want to talk about.
Of the 3, I'll go with Jordan Addison. I know he's fighting a suspension, but I think with against those other 2, I would still take him, because at this point you're talking about receivers that are probably going to be coming off your bench that you may need at some point during the season, and I just believe that Addison offers more upside than either of those 2. I mean, I think he's shown that in his career so far, and he's another big time weapon in a Vikings offense that's going to throw the ball a lot.
19 touchdowns in 32 games, and has had 35 red zone targets during that time, and was great. And even as a sophomore year, playing behind Justin Jefferson, 99 targets, 63 receptions, 875 yards, and 9 TDs. Like him a lot too. He's currently going as the number 41 wide receiver, despite the 3-game suspension. That's a lot better than 6, I'll tell you. But Todd, you're the big Bronco fan. Do you want to talk about Mr. Marvin Mims?
Yep, I'll talk about Marvin Mims. Obviously, probably going to be, I would say, I don't know, definitely, I don't know for sure, but obviously gonna be the slot wide receiver. So a lot of receptions there, as well. I mean, obviously the wide receiver room now, you know, obviously a little bit crowded now, and obviously with you think now with Troy Franklin, having a great preseason as well. That might take some targets away from Marvin Mims. Pat Bryant obviously is doing well, and Vele. So again, I mean, obviously Sutton's going to be the number one guy, but all those other wide receivers I just mentioned are having great preseason. So those might take away maybe potentially maybe some touchdowns away, but for reception purposes, which again is is the name of the game, he might benefit. Mims will benefit from that. So it's like, all right, well, you're going to get a lot of receptions, but I don't know if the touchdowns are going to follow, because with Franklin and Bryan and Sutton, getting those red zone targets, you got
How
to.
are all these guys? The Broncos are going to score 50 points a game with all these guys, Todd. Right? Or is it this what's going to happen?
I mean,
So many.
hey, I mean the way. I mean, again, I'm just saying more. Well, yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, it'd be nice if we scored 50 points a game. That'd be phenomenal. Um, but I'm just looking at more of like the target situation, and how the again we have one more preseason game to go, so um, we'll see how the depth chart and where it is. If Sutton is one, Mims is two, and
See,
then
I
you
don't think you could look at it that way. I don't think there is a two.
don't think there you don't think there isn't a true number two on this team.
No, that's never the way Sean Payton has ever played this. It's always been he's had a number one,
Okay,
and then he just has guys that are like in specific roles. So like they're not. It's not two, three, four. It's just like he has his kind of speed dude. He's got his like possession guy,
true,
and so like Mims fits in the same way. Like if you remember, like with the Saints, like they had Ted Ginn Jr.,
true.
Devery Henderson, Kenny Stills,
Kenny
like
Stills, there's a name.
Willie Snead. Those are like all their like speed guys. So that's where Mims fits in. He's probably going to end up somewhere around like 50 catches.
Hmm.
He'll have good yards per reception, but he won't hit 1,000 yards, and he'll probably have like 3 or 4 touchdowns. That sounds about right to me.
All right. So less than the 6 touchdowns he scored last year. He was pretty good from week 11 to week 18. He was wide receiver number 23 in terms of points, fantasy points per game, 6 touchdowns. But in those games, just a 12% target share and an average depth of target of 4.3. So not very deep. So I think, yeah, I'm with you. I think all these guys are just, I mean, outside of Addison. I mean, and I'll just keep going with Bateman here. While Bateman has a fantastic rank and separation and route win rate, the reason why he was fantasy worthy was because of his 9 touchdowns. Of course, we saw the big year from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson would have to do 41 touchdowns again, which is by far an outlier in his career. So I expect Bateman to fall even further. I mean, he's ranked 57th in terms of fantasy pros. So I mean, at some point you'll take a shot just to get someone that, if possibly Lamar can keep things going. Yeah, last year, and even a outlier for Bateman, who had 9 touchdowns but had 4 touchdowns the previous 3 years combined. So just a really good year for Bateman. It's hard to bank, hard to put money that he's going to do that again. Okay, tight end talk now. In the years past, we've always kind of like, oh man, tight ends, we got to talk about this. Are we feeling pretty good about tight ends? I feel like there's a lot to talk about, Mikey.
I mean, I'm always down on tight ends.
Oh, come on, man. This is the year. There's so many good ones out there.
This is the year. Isn't this what we always say?
Oh, man. Maybe I say it. I don't know. I know you're always down, but I feel like there's some good candidates. You don't have to get one of the top 2 or 3 guys. There's guys you can wait on and still be successful, right? Am I wrong on that?
I mean, that's like saying waiting for Kyle Pitts to finally do
Oh,
something.
come! That's how we're bringing this in. Kyle
Yep.
Pitts, someone that we
Oh,
all have
okay,
in the late teens and 20s.
I'll put it this way: there's probably more like hope because there's two more rookies coming in. There's like Evan Ingram in a new system. There's got potential bounce back candidates with guys like Hawkinson, Kincaid, Ferguson, guys like that. So there's more hope. But
Fine. I'll take the hope. If I can get hope from Miguel, I'll take it. Well, let's go into this. Um, obviously the guy last year, Brock Bowers, as a rookie, broke some records, uh, and that was he led the NFL. In at least he broke the NFL rookie record for receptions, and that's all possessions, even wide receivers or running backs. A huge, monstrous season. Uh, any concerns that Brock Bowers is the Sam Laporta of this season? Obviously, we saw Sam Laporta 2 years ago break out, have a phenomenal season, and then kind of be disappointing in year number 2. So, Todd, should owners be concerned about Brock Bowers disappointing as we saw Sam Laporta 2 years ago?
No, Brock Bowers
Not at all.
is
No hesitation. Yeah. No.
no hesitation. No, Brock Bowers is he's special. I mean, there might be like the little sophomore slump, just a smidge of it, but no, I have no concerns about Brock Bowers having any drop off or anything like that. Brock
New
Bowers is,
coach, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new system. Everything's going to be hunky dory for Brock Bowers.
I think I don't think Brock Bowers is that special. As much as I don't want to say that about a Raider, but I think Bowers is that special.
Mikey, you both have him number 1 amongst your tight ends. All that stuff doesn't give you pause to maybe put Trey McBride at number 1?
so the reason that I was down on Laporta last year, which I was right about, by the way, was
Oh, yes,
because
you're smart. We know that.
so much of Laporta was touchdown driven, and then we all know when it comes to touchdowns, there is luck involved.
Yeah.
And so I saw a regression coming there. It did, and wasn't as good. With Bowers, I think it's a little bit different. Like, I mean, he only had 5 touchdowns last year. Like, most of his points were volume based, so receptions and yards. And, I think that still applies this year because they don't just use him. He's not just a tight end. They play him out wide like a receiver. And so he's the best that they got. His quarterback's better, so I think
Yeah, I
that's
agree with
helpful.
that.
His coach is better. The team should be better, so I don't know that his targets and receptions will necessarily get to where they were last year, but I think that it has a chance to be close.
Yeah, I think anybody thinking that Brock Bowers is going to be disappointment probably going to be disappointed in that. The thing that with Laporta as well, the reason why he disappointed was his targets fell. He went from 120 to 83. Still had 7 touchdowns that previous year, but I mean the Lions, they ran more. They also have other mouths to feed. But Brock Bowers, we'll see if I don't know how much catching abilities Genty has compared to the average running back in our league, but he's got to be by far the best pass receiver they have. I put Trey McBride number 1, and I think a lot of it's just consistency and everything that's coming back for him this season. And again, it kind of goes back to Kyler Murray. He by far is the best wide receiver on that team. Marvin Harrison. There's a lot of question marks in his hands and his route running ability. And for this team, for Arizona to be successful, I believe they're going to go just keep on that train. I think that's important for them. And Trey McBride showed what he could do in that first season. Anything that you guys want to say about Trey McBride?
I want to hear what Todd says about the by far part.
Well, I mean, obviously, he is the way he showed last season that he's the number 1 option for Kyler Murray. So again, I had Trey McBride, number 2, so it wasn't like, you know, I just think because Bowers just I think is just a smidge better, but yes, McBride is more consistent a little bit, and we've seen more of him. But I think again, as far as I'm concerned, he's the number one option. Um, in that Arizona Cardinal offense. I mean, for thought I was like, okay, well, Marvin Harrison's going to take over that role. He hasn't shown that yet. So Trey McBride, I mean, if it was a choice between at that point, choosing between Trey McBride or Marvin Harrison Jr., who you're going to draft at that either one of those two, I'll take McBride
You're taking McBride over who? I'm sorry.
over who in the Cardinals offense.
Oh, okay.
Over
I thought you were
yeah
saying
over
over Bowers. Like, no, we just had
no
this whole conversation. What are you talking about?
no I would take McBride over Marvin Harrison Jr. right now at this point. As much as I know when he first came out, I was like, oh, Marvin Harrison's a special talent and he's great and everything like that. Still is. I mean, obviously, if it was between him and another wide receiver, and if we were going, who would you rather have? Okay, that's a different story for a different day. But between McBride and Harrison, I'm taking McBride.
We'll keep things going here as I try to find my outline here. Beautiful. Okay. We kind of talked about Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. Let's talk about George Kittle, who finished third in tight end in fantasy points last year. He was seventh in targets, however. Obviously, touchdowns help him out quite a bit. But we'll start with Mikey this time. Some of your thoughts on George Kittle. We just went through the mess that is the 49ers wide receiver core. Christian McCaffrey's still in the mix. You have Kittle ranked third, Todd fourth, and I have him third. So some of your thoughts on George Kittle getting up there in age a little bit, but seems to be still incredibly productive at his age.
Yeah, I mean, this thing could go a number of different ways. Like looking at Kittle, I think he gets there, like points wise, just based on the volume that he's going to get with these receivers out. But he's due for like major touchdown regression, especially if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. There's no way he's getting back to that number. Like he had his probably his best season last year, and it was mostly just due to McCaffrey not being there and receivers being hurt. So I think that's helping him. I think they don't want him to do as much as he's doing, but he's basically having to right now. Um, yeah, I mean, he's third in my rankings, but he's not going to be somebody that I'm like eager to go and draft. I'll say that.
So even if McCaffrey comes in and does McCaffrey things, I mean, we just said we don't feel good about the three wide receivers that are in the mix. I mean, even if he's the number two guy, doesn't that make you feel good about what he's capable of?
Like I said, I think from a sheer numbers perspective, I think he gets there, but in the range where I think he's going to be drafted, I don't know that I would want him where he's probably going to end up going
Okay, interesting.
based off of last year's production.
So number three, but not feeling good about it. So I get your point. You're not super excited about these tight ends.
No, I'm just saying there's tight ends that are lower than him that, based on cost, I would rather have.
Okay, all right. We'll keep rolling along here as we're running out of time. Let's go to some tier 2 tight ends. And so those guys in the mix are TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta. Todd, pick a guy that you want to talk about.
All right, I will go with TJ Hawkinson from Minnesota. Now, obviously, a new quarterback, essentially a rookie quarterback there. But Hawkinson, I mean, obviously, you have Justin Jefferson there. It's obviously in the mix, and he's the number one option. And where I have TJ Hawkinson ranked is 8th. He is I think he is the second option on that team, next to Justin Jefferson. So
Do you
again,
like
I
it better
think-
than Addison then, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
I like him better than Addison. I like him better than Addison, and I think, again, I always say this every time, especially rookie quarterbacks, their safety blanket, well, it's got to be it's got to be the number one wide receiver. No, it's their tight end. It's their tight end. It's a tight end. That's who they check down to. Well, not check down to, but that's where they know that's their bigger target. So I can just throw it up, and then tight end they'll go and get it. So I think Hawkinson will definitely. I think he'll benefit more in the sense than Justin Jefferson will with JJ McCarthy, in the sense of McCarthy might look for Hawkinson a little bit more, especially in the red zone.
Mikey, out of the tier 2 guys I threw your direction, who do you want to talk about, whether that be Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta?
Let's talk about Kelsey.
Let's do
Because
that.
I think he fits more into what we were talking about earlier when it comes to gut feelings.
My gut's not
You
feeling
know, Well, yeah, and I know it won't because everybody is down on Kelsey. He's going to be cheaper. He's going to be falling, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. He's going to be age 36 this season. He's on the down end of his career, but
good. And where does Mikey have him at? 4th. So you're higher than
fourth.
the rest of us, for sure.
Exactly. And this is a gut feeling. I told you guys in the quarterback podcast that I felt like the same thing with Mahomes, that, again, people are down on him. And I just feel like when this happens, all of a sudden it's going to swing back the other way. And with Kelsey, I kind of feel like he's got one more really good season left in him. And I feel like the numbers he could even have like less receptions and like somewhere around 800 yards where he was last year. But then what happens if the 3 touchdowns he had last year, which were a career low, you never know. Those could jump back up to like 8 or 9, and then all of a sudden he's right back at the top of the tight end number. It wouldn't surprise me not one bit.
Ugh, I don't know, Miguel. His yards per catch have declined. He's not really good down in terms of 6 yards or further down the field. It's harder to score touchdowns within the 5. If he's going to score touchdowns, that's where it's got to be. And he had 5 touchdowns the year before that. I don't know. I
You're
don't feel
telling me
good.
you would be shocked.
I kind of would.
If
If he's
all of a
36
sudden-
years old, I
If
don't
all
know.
of a sudden
Now, if you told me that him and Taylor Swift broke up, then maybe there's some motivation to not look like an idiot on her next album. But I'm not feeling Travis Kelce. Now, what I think saves Travis Kelce and why I have him number 8 is that he's boys with Mahomes, and he's going to throw the ball in his direction, so he can catch between 90 and 95 passes. That's a very top 10 number to have. So if he finished with 93 receptions and 5 touchdowns, I would love that as a top 10 tight end. But if you're saying he's going to catch 80 passes for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, I don't know. That might be sky high. But, I will honestly say, for as long as I've known you, you've had better gut feelings than me. That is for sure. That is for sure. Who else was on this list here? Keep moving my my list around here. So who was the other one? Sam Laporta. All kinds of talent. Super high power offense. Obviously, we talked about the targets falling off. You still have Amon-Ra, Jameson, and Gibbs in the mix, but he's there for the touchdowns. He's not going to get the targets that some of these other guys like Bowers or McBride are going to get, but he's going to see enough efficient targets his way that I still think he could finish as a top 4 guy. And it's always going to be tough, but he's had big touchdown totals in his first 2 years, so pretty high on Sam Laporta. When the offense is scoring 35 points a game, he's going to get some of it. Some weekends he may not. Some weekends he's going to have 2. But he's been pretty good. He finished 8th 1 year ago. Where are we at next? Let's go. I think of the veteran tight ends. And I'm going to let Todd talk about David Njoku. But the veteran tight end pick, I said pick 1, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews. Mikey, your turn to go first. You can talk about Evan Ingram or Mark Andrews because we know who's going to talk about David Njoku.
I figured Todd was going to want to talk about Evan Ingram.
You might be right about that too. Let's let Todd go first. Todd, who do you want? I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you want to talk about amongst those three?
Well, yeah, I mean, you would guess David Njoku, but yeah, we're going to talk about David Njoku.
Ranked third amongst his rankings by Bowers and McBride.
Yep. And we have seen the last few seasons how David Njoku, is kind of turned into the number one option with Cleveland. Obviously too, I'm high on him because he helped me win a championship. Yep.
I can't believe you just come out and say that. I mean, if you're trying to be a so-called expert and you're just like, yeah, well, I'm going to say this because I really like him, as opposed to, well, these are the reasons why. Is he the number one with Jerry Jeudy and what he did one season ago? Mikey, I know, is not on board with that, but you still think he's the number one option with Jerry Jeudy in the mix and Joe Flacco as the quarterback?
Yep, 100%.
All right,
100%. I mean, he had five. Yeah, I mean, he had 5 touchdowns last season. Only 500 yards receiving. But I think this year, 730. He at least gets 800. I think. I mean, he's always dependable. He'll get you. He won't get you. He'll even get you a lot of receptions. He had 64 last year. They have projected 73 this year. That's pretty good for a tight end. And 5 touchdowns. Yeah, that 5 might be a little bit more. That might be 6 or 7.
In a Cleveland Browns offense run by Joe Flacco.
As much as I want Shador to be the quarterback,
so that's what it's going to take. Shador needs to be the starting quarterback. Who's number 4 in the depth chart, as Mikey mentioned?
Yeah. Well, they should have just.
He has a chip on his shoulder, though.
He's got a chip, but yeah, but again, Shador. That's story for a different day. I'm not going to go into that. But the point is, David Njoku is the number one option in that Cleveland offense.
All right, yeah. So missed some time last year. I think he missed, he got 7 games, but did have 64 receptions in 11 games. So if there's anything to be excited about is that he is productive when he's on the field. But he has missed some time in the last 3 years. So Mikey, Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, choose one.
I'll go with Evan Ingram.
All right. A lot of buzz.
A lot of buzz. I think that he's not. He is not going to be the Evan Ingram of 2 years ago where he was over 100 catches. I am not expecting that. I think what's more realistic for him is maybe he's a bigger touchdown asset. I see him more as a guy that probably gets to 70 catches. I think would be, decent for him in this Broncos offense as a guy that they could go to over the middle. Maybe he gets to 750, 800 yards, but for a guy that hasn't necessarily been a big touchdown guy in the past, maybe in this system, better offense than he's probably ever been with. Maybe this is the year that he finally gets, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, somewhere around there. So there's some excitement for sure with Evan Ingram.
There you go. Some excitement talk coming from Miguel. I love it. Some excitement. We all have him ranked 7th across the board. In terms of Mark Andrews, we know what he is at this point. I think the thing that pushes his value up for me to put him in the top 10 is that Isaiah Likely is hurt. So who knows how long he may be out. It's not for the whole season, but Mark Andrews went on kind of a run towards the end of last season. Not big reception totals, but those touchdowns, again, linked to Lamar Jackson. He would have to put up similar numbers in order for him to move up past the 9, 10, 11 ranking, because 41 touchdowns, is a big time number. He's had 6 catches in just 2 games last year. So it's all about the touchdowns for Andrews. Fluky. Obviously, we've seen some injuries in his way. Likely will come back at some point. But if Lamar Jackson, who's a perennial MVP candidate, even if he puts somewhere between 30 and 35, Andrews will benefit from that, thus top tight end. Make this quick because we're at 57 minutes in terms of a lot of hype on the talk of Colts rookie tight end Tyler Warren. And just quickly looking over the rankings here, I have him 11th. Todd has him 13th. Mikey also has him 11th. So I'll let Mikey talk about Warren. I'll let Todd talk about him, and then we'll end the show, and we'll do our sleeper stuff with the tight ends on the next episode, because that's what we're going to talk mostly about next week. So Mikey, talk about Tyler Warren. Is his hype warranted? Should he be ranked inside the top 15?
Well, I think where this is coming from is that in the past 3 years, we've had rookies, Trey McBride, we've had Brock Bowers, we've had Sam Laporta, and so now there's this expectation that these first-round pick rookies are going to come in and blow the roof off the place, and with him and Colston Loveland. And I mean, Warren is, I mean, all these guys, I think people look at Warren and he's big, physical, fast, can knock people over. He probably should be the top target in that Indianapolis offense. You know, the ability for a dude as big as him, the dude's 6'6", 250 playing tight end, to get open is basically like having a linebacker out there.
Yeah.
That can catch the ball. So I think he's going to be a tremendous red zone threat if Indianapolis can get there. I mean, the last tight end that I remember being that big was Jimmy Graham. We remember, how good he was,
nice
inside the red zone. So,
is he Gronk?
Man,
Does he have traits of Gronk or no? Do you think?
That's tough. I mean, Gronk was like a different level. I mean, similar traits. I mean, Gronk was.
He was
6'6", about 252. So yeah, I mean, very similar traits. So yeah, I mean, could be in that same range.
Okay.
Todd, do you want us to add anything? Tyler Warren in college, 104 receptions, 12 touchdowns in 2024 season. He also ran for 218 yards and 4 touchdowns. Athletic guy, seems like a freak, and Daniel Jones at the helm. Some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I, as much college football as I watch, I mean, yeah, he looked like, I mean, he was the best tight end by far, and when he was at Penn State. But, yeah, I mean, I think in some degree, I agree with Mikey that, yeah, we've seen in the past with rookie tight ends and how well they've just adapted to the NFL level play so quickly and made such an impact. I think Tyler Warren, it won't be any different, and he'll, will he have the seasons like Bowers and McBride and Laporta will have? I mean, we don't know, but it could. I mean, depending on how the Colts offense and is going to look like. I mean, obviously it's going to be Daniel Jones at the helm, so that's going to be that's like shaking a magic 8 ball. Like, oh, is this going to work out? And everything. So you don't know. But Tyler Warren definitely has the ability and the playmaking ability to be even maybe be the number one option, maybe for that Colts offense.
Let me ask you guys one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you feel comfortable, and maybe Todd won't because he has him 13th, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you feel comfortable having Tyler Warren as your number one tight end? Mikey?
Yeah. Oh, man, that's such a tough on-the-spot question.
Love it. That's what the show's all about.
Okay, I'll put it this way. If I waited on tight end to like round 12, then yes.
Oh, you're not getting him in the 12th round. Someone's
going
to take him.
Then the answer is no.
Then the answer is no. Todd, would you be comfortable as your number one, as Tyler Warren as your number one tight end?
Actually, I would, because I'm always the one that always says, with tight ends, let me just throw a dart. Let me throw a dart at the dartboard and see what happens. And Tyler Warren has the ability and really the upside. Yes, I would actually feel very comfortable having him as my number one tight end.
I think we didn't get to talk about Njoku. Mikey does not like Njoku at all, number 10. But we'll talk about that on another episode. Todd, what's coming up next week?
All right. Well, we got bold predictions, where I say some where I make bold predictions look at me and go, what did you just say? And then we talk sleepers, we talk busts and everything. And then, and of course, and even better, we have Aaron Renault on the podcast next week.
Yeah, Aaron's going to join us and do the mock draft.
I love my mock drafts. They're just phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Can't wait.
Mock drafts, Denver Broncos, and David Njoku.
Yep.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, thanks for coming on, finishing up our wide receiver talk, tight ends, and then one more podcast before the draft.
Hey.
We're drafting on August 30th, so that's going to be fun. So make sure you tune in next week, 31st. Thank you. And so make sure that you check out next week's episode. It's going to be fun. So stay tuned. Eric Lansing, Mike Reno, Todd Diamond. We'll see you next time on the MHA podcast.